Welcome back to another episode of the Cape CopCast. I'm one of your hosts, Lisa Greenberg.
And I'm Officer Mercedes Simons. Together we make up the Public Affairs Office. And today we have a very special guest. We have Sergeant Niland. And I'll let you introduce a little bit about yourself, maybe your history in the department, that kind of thing.
Sure. Thanks for having me again.
Welcome.
Appreciate it. I'm Sergeant Jeremy Niland. I started back in the very end of 2007. I got hired. And so I went to the academy and stuff like that. Finished in 2008. And I did about 7 years on patrol, where I was a patrol officer. I was a field training officer back then. And in 2015 is when I luckily got selected to be in our street crimes unit, which was a unit we used to have in the Investigative Services Bureau. I spent a year in street crimes. And then from there, I moved on to the property crimes unit in 2016. So I was a detective for 3 years working property crimes cases. And in 2019, I was lucky enough to be promoted to sergeant. From that point, 2019, I went to patrol, as a lot of new sergeants do, and become a patrol supervisor. So I was on patrol for about 4 years. Did field training, supervision when it was on patrol back in those days. So I worked with a lot of the trainees and the FTOs while I was on patrol. After that, I was lucky enough to come up to the Investigative Services Bureau a couple of years ago and take over a Special Investigations Unit, which I was in from 2023, the end of 2023 until a couple months ago. And then I moved over to the Property Crimes Unit. So now Sergeant of Property Crimes Unit, which kind of comes full circle because I'm doing now supervising what I used to do back when I was a property crimes detective. So throughout my career, I've done other stuff too. I was on a SWAT team for about 11 years. I was a CPR, first aid instructor, and done other things too. Like I'm a bicycle instructor. So
Very cool.
All right.
So I've done a lot of different stuff, been lucky and been blessed to work in a lot of different parts of the department. So
Now we're in property crimes, and I know you guys are extremely busy.
we are very busy. So I have a unit of 5 detectives, and property crimes encompasses any kind of theft, any kind of burglary. We handle stolen cars, any sort of felony theft. So we have, high dollar retail theft stuff. So anything that would encompass thefts, burglaries, stolen cars, stolen property, things like that is where our unit gets involved in that stuff.
I think we're very lucky that we live in a city where we don't have super high levels of violent crime. One thing I think that we see often is like car break-ins, vehicle burglaries,
gosh,
retail
all the time.
thefts, those types of things. So that's why I say you guys must be so busy.
We do, unfortunately, but on the positive note is we really have a great community, and we have a lot of cooperation. We have a lot of people that are willing to help us solve those cases. And we've had lots of instances recently where we've worked with our patrol officers. Generally, a lot of stuff you guys know happen at night, but for the people at home, the car break-ins happen in the middle of the night. People are sleeping. But we have great patrol officers that are getting out there and they're catching these guys in the act. And that's where our detectives come in, kind of put all the pieces together. And we've had a bunch of instances recently where car burglars have gotten caught in the act, and we recover people's property, get that back to them, and
Yeah, we had one really good case like that last week, right? I think we did a release on it.
Yeah, so we had a case last week, and it was kind of in the general area of Oasis Boulevard, and we had a gentleman that lives nearby that we actually connected to a couple of those recent burglaries, and we're still investigating some of it, so I'm gonna, be limited on what I say a little bit, but we do use some innovative things to try to connect people to these crimes that people might not think about. And it's not just us. It's it's other parts of the Investigative Services Bureau and other detectives that help us tie those pieces together. And ended up doing a search warrant on a house, recovering a lot of stolen property that we're fortunately able to get back. One thing we'll talk about is, unfortunately, one of the victims, she had some softball equipment stolen from her vehicle with her name on it, and we were able to recover that and get that back to her, which is good. The detective that handles the case did a great job, but he really took that to heart because he has kids too, and to have somebody's
Yeah.
their softball stuff stolen from their car, and it's
And that
very
guy,
personal.
he
and
tried to throw it in the
it's a
trash,
kid.
right? That was terrible.
So that's something that our detectives, it hits them.
Yeah.
They want to help and get that stuff back for those people.
For sure.
So
Especially when it's
it was a
kids.
good ending. And
For those, in case you might have seen the release, it was the guy that walked into somebody's garage midday and stole one of their scooters. And behind it actually had a whole attachment for their other child so that they could ride alongside
Aw.
their other sibling and not feel left out. And this guy took the whole attachment that, that this victim had built for him and his kids. So that was really sad. And I think we were really happy to kind of get justice for that family, find out who it was, identify him. A lot of people are great and they have security camera footage, and that security camera footage
Key.
is helpful to tying pieces of the investigation together to build a timeline. And just overall, we have a lot of people just willing to help us and donate that. We can post it on social media to help with identification, not just in that case, but in a lot of different cases. We have a lot of success being able to post video footage online, and people are like, oh, hey, I know that guy, because we don't necessarily know them. We don't interact with them, but Cape Coral is very large, but can also be very small. So
Yeah.
we've had a lot of really good success with that.
It's nice when we're able to post things on social media to help you guys out.
absolutely, and social media is huge. I remember back when I was a detective working with public affairs and getting that stuff out on social media. And when I was a detective, I solved a lot of cases just by getting that information out to the public. And as we know, this day and age, you're almost always on camera wherever you go.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, how you see it. But for people that like to commit crime, that's not good. And it's a reason why a lot of people will get caught. And, usually if you go down a neighborhood and let's say you break into a couple cars, you're usually going to be on camera in at least one of them. And, just one instance where someone's on a camera can help us solve multiple cases.
That's why it's crazy to me that people are continuing to commit this kind of crime, because everyone these days, 90% of people have surveillance. So you'd think, what is the risk really worth the reward? What are you really going to get out of it if you're getting caught? A, and B, what's in someone's car that's that valuable that makes it worth getting caught?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Unfortunately, lots of times these are kids, they're teenagers, and they're not thinking about it the way you and I would, because we're grown adults and we're thinking rationally. I think a lot of times it's the kids, and maybe they're bored, or maybe one kid has a bad idea and a couple kids jump on it. But for the people, some people do feel bad. Oh, I don't want somebody to get in trouble. For the most part, when the kids get in trouble, in the juvenile justice, they do try to, teach them right from wrong, rehabilitate them, and just make sure they don't do it again.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for those watching at home, what are some good tips that people can employ to avoid being a victim of any sort of property crime, vehicle burglary, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I have some tips. So it's probably some things that people know, but you hear all the time, we say lock it or lose it, right? That's a big thing. So, it's just a button, click, click, lock your car. Obviously, we don't want to leave anything valuable in the car that we don't need to. If you do, and you have a trunk, that's a better spot than just lying in your car. Also, if you do have valuables that you don't want to take out, keeping them out of view is huge. So lots of times, during the holidays, we have people that might leave their purse on the passenger side, maybe, that you can see. And a bad guy or somebody that has a bad idea might walk by, might see that purse and to see your car unlocked and just grab it. So just some of those basic things. As far as your home, there's things you can do if you have cameras, right? You can park your car right under your camera.
Yep.
That way, if somebody does go near your car, they're on camera. Because we do have times where, we'll have bad camera angles. Maybe somebody has a camera system, but their car was parked over here, but the camera didn't see it. So that's an easy thing. Just keeping up with your property and, making sure your hedges are cut and, there's there's a good view of your property. When you take care of your property, you're less likely to have people, come onto your property, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, so those are, just some of the basic things. And the good thing about our city, which I know because I live here too, is we have great neighbors. Just knowing your
So true.
neighbors, looking out for your neighbors. Like my neighbors, we have great relationships. He goes away, hey, I'm away. I'll go grab the packages off his front door and bring them in my house, or just knowing what's going on in your neighborhood and knowing your neighbors and knowing, hey, that's weird. There's no kid that lives across the street that's in 2 a.m. going for the car. Just knowing that, and lots of times people are like scared to call the police. Like they think, oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. And I'm sure when you were on, patrol, you would hear that from people. Well, I didn't want to say anything because our officers are trained well.
Yeah,
and
we
they-
always tell people just
Yeah.
to call.
They're just there to check it out. It doesn't mean if you think something's suspicious that somebody's going to get arrested for no reason or they're going to be in trouble. Our officers will check it out. And if sometimes it's nothing, lots of times it is. And the officer will just go, oh, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do have people that see things and unfortunately don't call. And that could have been like the break we needed to stop that burglary or to stop that crime. So I want to encourage people that we're always there to check it out. We won't be mad if you call if you're wrong.
Yeah.
Our officers are trained to figure out if something is wrong or not, and they do figure out if it's right or wrong. And it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We're here to help.
My favorite people in Cape Coral are the retirees that always know what's going on. The people that are always out there walking their dog. They know who's there, who doesn't belong, and I love the people that are quick to call, because those are the situations that we can get there as quickly as possible, contain the situation. If somebody is doing something they're not supposed to be, then we can get there and handle it as we need to, or potentially be like, oh, it's not anything that we need to worry about. It's not anything if it's actually suspicious, and go from there.
Right. Like you're either, the worst case scenario, if you call and it's nothing, is that you quote unquote waste our time. And that's not a big deal at all in the grand scheme of things when you consider that the alternative is that something happens and you don't call and someone becomes a victim of some kind of crime.
And there's a lot of officers out there that they want to be out there and they want to help. And if somebody's doing something wrong, they want to catch them.
Exactly.
So they're perfectly fine going to those calls and helping. So
Exactly.
don't
And
hesitate to call us.
give us a call. And then the other thing too is like, you kind of mentioned this, but this is such a crime of opportunity. So just not providing the opportunity. We don't see often that it's like the smash and grabs. Most of the times when we're looking through the reports and putting things out, it's people who've left their cars unlocked or left the keys in the vehicle. And that's when we see it's not like someone who has their keys inside their house usually and gets their car stolen. It's usually like, oh, I left my keys in the car. Nothing ever happens when that type of stuff happens.
All those basic steps we talk about, not leaving valuables out in the yard. If you got, let's say you have a $5,000 electric bike, put it in the garage, lock it up at night. It's just stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time, when these vehicle burglaries occur, it is somebody going down the street and they check the door handles. And if your car's locked, they move on.
Mm-hmm.
And they wait to find one that's unlocked, because when they start breaking stuff, the police are going to get called.
Yep.
Exactly.
I know.
They want to be as quiet as possible. And they want to be as easy as possible for them. The easiest way is to just open an unlocked door for them.
We had a situation last year that we actually posted on social media that was very similar to the Grinch Stole Christmas. They went into these people's cars and actually they had Christmas packages in there ready to go. I think it was even Christmas Eve, maybe Christmas morning. And it was all stolen out of their car. They ended up stealing the motor vehicle, the purse inside the car. And I really hope that nothing like that happens again this year, because I'm sure that was probably a nightmare for them. It probably made Christmas a lot less enjoyable. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody's heart grew 3 sizes that day. So it was just kind of a loss. But if you lock your car doors, take out all the valuables, you avoid that kind of situation, especially during the holiday season that we've seen can be really unfortunate.
Are those vehicle burglaries what keep you the busiest?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of do it all in the theft department. So yeah, it's one of the things that keeps us busy. It is, let's say we have 10 cars that get broken into in a street, that might get assigned to one detective, and that's a lot of work to track down. And there's ways we can track stuff down, right? People have stuff that are serial numbers on that. We can use a database and we can track those serial numbers. Lots of times people will sell that stuff. We're able to track that stuff as well. That's another tip. If you have high dollar things that you really care about, just take down your serial numbers, have that handy, because that gives us the ability to track it down. Whereas if we don't have it, it's really hard to prove that, let's say that TV is your TV, whereas a serial number, it's one and only, and we can get that back to you if we can find it and track it down.
That makes sense. I'm sure retail theft is another thing that you guys do a lot of, the high dollar retail theft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
People are getting crazy these days with that. They're like switching barcodes. They're doing all the crazy stuff. And it's like, all the time you spend into looking up how to do all this and trying to make it happen and eventually getting caught doing it anyway, you could just put into getting a real job and making money and not having to steal.
Tell them, Lisa.
Yeah. I wish they would. But yeah, same thing with what we talked about. There's video cameras at every retail store.
Every store.
Most of these big stores, they have dedicated loss prevention officers that's their one job, is to watch the cameras, track down people stealing. And we have great partnerships with them where, they will provide us identities of people, not just at their store, but other thefts that maybe don't include or have nothing to do with their store, because they're going to know a lot of those people. They have partnerships with all their loss prevention officers in other areas, because there are groups that travel around statewide and do these organized retail theft schemes and stuff like that. And, they resell it for money, and it's unfortunately a business for them.
I remember we did a release on one where the guy said he didn't even know the guy, and who knows if that part's true, but he was like, yeah, I didn't even know the guy. I just started working for him because he was giving me cash and telling me, go to this store in Cape Coral and this store in Fort Myers and this store, working up and down from Miami and doing all of that. So we've definitely heard of those organized rings that are hitting Cape Coral and committing that type of crime. And I think a lot of times people are like, well, why should I care? Like, Walmart loses a couple bucks. What's the big deal? But at the end of the day, this impacts you because they end up having to raise their prices to make up for it.
That's a great point. And people don't realize that, exactly what you said. You're paying a couple extra dollars every time you go to the store because you are covering their losses because people steal. So it doesn't affect you personally, but you are paying a little bit extra. And the same thing goes with your car insurance, right? If your car gets stolen and your car gets totaled, that's a loss, right? And you're probably paying a little bit more in insurance because you're covering those losses because people steal.
Right.
Which is, what I try to encourage our victims, this is why we like to, prosecute these people so that they stop, because if no one stole, your car insurance would be less, your groceries would be less, your TV from Target would be less. And that's better for all the good people that are doing the right thing,
100%. Absolutely.
I know that you said there's a story that you need to tell about your shoes.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we were admiring your shoes.
You can see my shoes.
On the way
They seem to be very popular when I wear them. So I only wear these like once in a very great while. So we were supposed to do the podcast last week, and I was sick, and we talked and said, hey, save the best day. I don't want to get you guys sick. So I had worn these that day. Well, that day that I wore these happened to be the day that the case we talked about, where we did a search warrant near Oasis Boulevard where we recovered from stolen property. I happen to be wearing these shoes, and these shoes are very uncomfortable. And when you're walking around all day, you're walking around someone's house and searching and stuff. So yeah, my feet were killing me at the end of the day. So yeah, that's just kind of how it worked out. I should have gone home and changed. So it's my own fault, but.
Listen, you try to look fancy on the pod, and then you get stuck doing a search warrant, and you're walking around. So we appreciate you wearing them.
They're very
today.
stylish.
Thank you.
Thank you for your sacrifice.
And everybody
service.
was like, why are you wearing, what's up with your, I like your, why are you wearing those? And I had told them I was supposed to do the podcast today. These will go in the closet till I have another.
Till your next podcast episode.
Yeah, till my next podcast. Exactly. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Shout out to Mike Scarlato. We'll drag him on next time.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
We tried to get Detective Scarlato. He's the one person that we probably get the most images and video from asking us to post on our social media to help with his cases.
Right.
And I would
And
say
we had the Batman.
Yes.
The Batman one that went
viral.
Nationwide. Everybody saw that. I mean, that is kind of funny.
it was crazy.
Yep.
The guy who stopped the burglar in his Batman pajamas.
That was,
Yeah.
It was awesome.
awesome. I'm still
I mean, you
thinking
can't
about
plan
that.
it better.
No,
if
you can't make
tried.
that up. Like
Right.
that's just, it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Yeah. He's got a lot of good cases. So maybe next time we'll twist his arm hard enough to get him on here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We
Cool.
appreciate
Thank
you being here. See, we don't bite. Wasn't too
Hope that
bad.
wasn't too boring.
No, you were
No.
great. You were great. And it's important information that people need to know, especially as we head into the holiday season. And, you know, people are getting gifts and all that good stuff. Don't leave them in your car. Lock your car. Take everything inside. Conceal it. Park your car under your cameras. And I think that'll do it.
Yeah, because these are the crimes that I feel like most people find themselves running across. Just the average person that we, run into in Cape Coral that's a victim of these crimes. I feel like it's probably the most common.
Yes.
So it's something that we really wanted to get on top of, address. And luckily we have a very hardworking sergeant and his team of incredible detectives that oftentimes get people their property back. That's always the goal, is to return their property to them and then prosecute whoever was involved in taking it. And
For sure.
that's something that we love being able to do for our community.
If you commit a crime like this in Cape Coral, you're going to get caught.
Yeah.
So
And
beware. That's my message.
That's the most important thing, is getting people their stuff back. So if we can do that, that's a win for us.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We will see you next time. And thank you for listening.
Stay safe.
Thank you for listening to the Cape CopCast, where we dive into the heart of the Cape Coral Police Department's safety initiatives, community relations, and the insightful stories of different officers that make up our department.
Please like and share our podcast. If you have feedback, you can email capepdpao@capecoral.gov. And remember to follow us on social media. Our handle is @CapePD on all major platforms. Stay safe, stay Cape.